So, for this video here, I wanted to talk to y'all about the SaGa series. It's the JRPG series that I got a bit of a love for, and it started like some years back when I was messing around and playing this mobile game called Romancing SaGa Re-Universe. It really piqued my interest into the series because I'm like, I've always wanted to play the games but never made it my business to do so. So here we are, and the idea for this video stemmed from a commenter on my Romancing SaGa 1 review like a while back. They commented and they talked about, and they gave me a little bit of positive feedback about how my video kind of featured a lot of in-depth detail on how the game works and how it plays. And I was just like, I could make a video kind of covering the Romancing Trilogy. And that was the idea. Shout outs to them for making such a thing. I'm gonna leave a comment right here featuring their name and everything. But somewhere on the line, my brain was like, as I was kind of working through the scripting and going over what I really wanted to do in my head, I was like, maybe I should just kind of go in a general sense of talking about the series as a whole, instead of me just kind of going by the first 3 games. And, you know, stemming from that comment, looking across the internet, there's retrospectives about the series, there's reviews, guilty as charged, despite me being a rookie reviewer, and there's also like quick guides to help kind of get you settled into what the games can let you do. But I thought to myself, maybe I can use this video as a means to try to help sell people on this series, rather than me just covering the first 3 of the Romancing SaGa series, because I played all 3 of those games. I've played SaGa Frontier 1, I played Scarlet Graces, Emerald Beyond demo, I have the other games and stuff too. So I'm just like, I really do like this series a lot, and I think it's like really dope. It's Square's like red-headed stepchild. I consider it that anyways, because Final Fantasy is the big boy that's, you know, is the big kid of the playground when it comes to Square, because that's their baby. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it is the game that saved the company, because if they didn't get that out and it didn't work, I don't think Square would be here. So I want to kind of talk about their red-headed stepchild at length a little bit, try to discuss these things. So I'm here to kind of rectify what isn't out there in terms of like SaGa content. I know we have some people who talk about them, but it's not a lot of people who talk about them. So I want to be the one that kind of gets you there. So like I said, this won't be covering just the Romancing SaGa trilogy. It'll be covering the series as a whole. So this will be more of an in-general video than it is a pinpoint video on a certain part of the game. So without further ado, let's start talking about mechanics and so on. I will not touch on the Game Boy SaGa games, as I have not played those. I do have them, but I haven't started playing them. I know they're very short, but I haven't started them. But I can start from what I know the series became after those 3, and then to where we are currently at Emerald Beyond. So by all means, sit back, relax, grab a snack, and I'll see y'all on the other side. Let's start talking about how I can kind of get y'all into these games, where y'all can start playing them at, and let's talk about some mechanics, because I think that's the #1 thing that scares some of these people away from games, such as the SaGa series. So let's begin. We're going to start talking about the Super Famicom series of the games, the trilogy of Romancing SaGa 1, 2, and 3. 1992, 93, and 95 were the years that these games came out, respectively. And with Romancing SaGa 1, it was quite a jump in telling yourself, maybe this is a game I would play. But I have to tell you this. When you start this game, you have 8 characters to choose from. You decide their lineage at the start. You also choose which hand they're dominant with. There's a lot of little intricate things that go into the first Romancing SaGa game. But aside from that, everyone starts at a different point. Each game has its own, well, not each game, but each character is sort of like its own difficulty level, if I had to be honest. It's very choose your own adventure. You can go in and start at a certain spot, but then if you can find someone to talk to, which is usually how you get the map to open up in this game, that's how it all goes. And once you get started finding quests, everything else kind of turns into the standard JRPG that you all know and love. So some of the mechanics in this game start with a formation system, which you have in the menu by a 3x3 grid. You can set your 2-2-2 method with 2 in the middle, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, or you can set 1 in the front, 3 in the middle, 2 in the back, so on and so forth. The combinations are endless. The weapon system is completely different from a lot of games because every character can learn everything. No character necessarily specializes in something, so they're locked to that weapon like a actual RPG class. They can just do what they want. And upon leveling up in this game, your character has like a proficiency with the weapons that they have, and having that proficiency helps them out because they gain skills over each and every weapon that they get. Now the downside to that being the fact that this game was kind of unfinished upon its release because the creator had a lot more ideas he wanted to throw into the game before, but they ran out of time, is that whenever you do unequip a weapon on a character, they lose those skills. So you end up having to reteach them that. So if you start with a sword, but then you switch to an axe, but then you go back to that sword, you won't have those skills there. That's kind of the worst part about this game, is that you can't really switch. So if you're gonna start, you need to make it your business to be where you're at, where you want to be, and that's how it kind of goes. Another thing is the game does have magic, just like any good RPG would, but with this game here, you can't learn opposing magics like you would in a Final Fantasy or any other RPG where you can learn numerous elements. You can learn 2 elements, but they can't oppose. That's something that this game does have against it. You can't do opposing things, but you can use other characters to fill in the gaps for what you don't have, which I think is actually really cool. And you can also use them to kind of set you up to learn other things. Like you can also learn multiple weapons. You can equip your armors. You can do everything under the sun that a good RPG will allow you to do. Now I do have a review on this game, so if you are willing to go and sit and check that out, by all means do so, and I would appreciate a like and a comment on that. If you feel like I did a solid enough job, let me know. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to talk about the next game. Alright, so the next game is the big brother, the big seller of the trilogy, Romancing SaGa 2. This one right here features a different system. You don't pick from 8 different characters in this one. You have a generation system now. It features the same scenario system as the first game, but in this one you start off with someone that they've already established thanks to the minstrel story at the beginning of the game. Now in this one here, once the main character dies off, at least once the Emperor of Varennes dies off, you start off as his son. That's when the game really kicks off for you. Once the game kicks off that way, everything here is a little bit different in comparison to the first game. The battle system is still turn-based RPG. You still gain your stats piece by piece as you're fighting, but you also gain your skills bit by bit. And that truthfully depends on the weapon that you have attached to the character at that time. Whether it be a sword, whether it be a spear, a bow, a club, a mace, or a great sword. You get different skills based on your character's proficiency with that, and it also ties into the enemy's level, so on and so forth. It's a lot of things that go into it. It's quite a formula, if I had to say so. So I won't delve into that, as that's a little more on the convoluted side of things, and I don't want to talk about that too long. I don't want to bore y'all with numbers and letters and things of that sort of equations. But Romancing SaGa 2 and its battle system is very similar to its predecessor. Turn-based RPGs, you learn your skills there. The magic system is still about the same as well, but alongside having that magic system, you can learn fusion spells. That is something new that they've added to the game, where in your kingdom you have different institutes across the way. Like I said, you have a secretary that keeps you afloat of things. You have an accountant. You also have the magic schools that you get later on. I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but I'm just telling you the truth because you have to do a certain set of quests to get that to pop up. But once you have the magic institutes there, you can learn whatever magic you need to. Like I said before, no opposing kinds, but you can learn different types of magic to learn how to get to a specific spell if you get it. And those fusion spells are very powerful. There's one in that game that is very broken. I want to thank this spell for the reason I actually even beat Romancing SaGa 2, because I had the new game plus that last time. There's neither here nor there. But this game is very customizable, very, very heavy on letting you do what you want to do. Like, I know the previous game is supposed to be more like that, but I think Romancing SaGa 2 hits a very sweet spot in letting you do what you need to do, how you want to do it, when you want to do it, and how you want to build your characters as well. And I think that a lot of the story pieces that they do have in place in the game are really well written. I do think they're done well enough to get you to be invested within the game. Now, to talk about Romancing Saga 3, 1995's the final piece of the Romancing Saga trilogy. This kind of goes back to the roots of Romancing Saga 1, where you have 8 characters to choose from, and you also have these characters that actually really know each other, unlike 1 where these characters are just kind of more like the chosen heroes or the chosen souls of this damn world, if you get what I'm saying. But in Romancing Saga 3, you have a lot of the same things that you can still do from 1 in this game here. You have the glimmer system still in place where you can learn your skills. You also have the magic system still in place. It still operates the same way. Like I said, no opposing spells, but there are fusion spells, but they go about them a different way in comparison to 2. The battle system works just about the same, except you can actually master skills with your characters right then and there. And when you master those skills with them, what they can do is actually teach them off to other characters that may end up going to another class, or like, well, not another class, but to another weapon, because this game continues the same tradition of keeping characters being able to learn whatever, whenever, however. And I think it's a beautiful thing with the Saga series as a whole, that characters can learn whatever and whenever. So yeah, I don't really think there's much I can tell you about Romancing Saga 3 that Romancing Saga 2 doesn't already have, aside from the fact that in this game you have 6 characters, but there's something called Commander Mode in this game, which lets you take the main character that you choose at the beginning out, and the other 5 characters can take orders from this character, and depending on the weapons and maybe the skills that they have, they can do something like a powered up skill or something. They can do that, or they can do a team attack with each other, or a fusion spell if you find the appropriate piece of text or item that will let you do that. And it being like the last one of the trilogy, I think they've done a well enough job with that game that I think a remake could be on the way. I don't know. This is just me talking speculation at this point. But yes, I say Romancing Saga 3 is another step up in the right direction as it goes back to the roots of what 1 was, but it does everything that 2 in itself can do, and it does them very well. Now, the Frontier games are the front runners for the PlayStation 1 Era of SaGa games. These 2 games feature some very striking art styles, but a lot of the greatness that made the Romancing Trilogy what it is. The gameplay style seemed to stick around as this becomes the standard to an extent going forward. The openness of the world is still there, just on a more powerful machine, and this time they introduced guns in the SaGa Frontier 1 as a weapon, since, you know, Frontier 1 is placed in a much more modern setting. Mechs and monsters make a return since they were present in the Game Boy games back in the day, and we are back with multiple protagonists as well. Mech is even one of the protagonists that you can follow. Everyone has their own path to follow, but you can run into other main heroes just as you did in previous games that had multiple heroes. And Frontier 1 comes off very fun in its battle system, even has combos in place for your teams to deal massive damage, such as everyone getting skills together. Like, everyone has like a level of camaraderie. I can't say that's necessarily a meter or something you see in the game, but it's something that happens when you play with the team long enough, and then they start being able to do these crazy chains of skills together and just do mad damage to anything that comes across the screen. And you can learn much more, it feels like, as long as that character is capable of learning it. Like, there's no skill count, if I had to say so myself. So as long as the character can learn it, they can learn it, so you can have a ton of skills all across the board whenever you're playing this game. You have humans, you have mechs, you even have this class of characters called mystics, which are very strong in both physical and magic attacks. They do some really interesting things, and monsters. And there are examples such as one of these are the lead characters I'm going to talk about with Amelia, the person whose story I beat. She can learn guns and martial arts because that's all part of her story, but she can also take up swords if you want her to. Guns are tied to this mech called T-240G. They can keep up with guns, but I'm pretty sure you can get them other things, but they also get like body changes and so on throughout their story. Sword and martial arts are tied to this character Red, who is practically like a Power Ranger, if I had to say so myself. and just so on and so forth. Everyone has things that they just learn. Everyone gets to a certain point. It's the same thing with the one mage in the pro tags. They learn magic, but you can teach them anything else if you wanted to. And once again, with SaGa Frontier 1, the creativity is there for you to make your party as balanced as you like, or you can make it lean towards one way, or you can make 2 members do one thing and make the other 2 do something else. It's interesting. It's fun. Like, the choices are yours to make, and you can get through the story however you see fit. Now, with SaGa Frontier 2, which I'm looking to get my hands on soon enough in this remaster, thank God it actually came out, this seems to be much more straightforward as there's a story to follow. And it also seems to be a bit of a pattern too with how they release the games, flipping between protagonist selection and something that gives a major frontline like story to follow. Either way, this is one that continues the tradition of something with the older mechanics, such as a weapon break system, which did appear in GB SaGa. And then there's also a change in the magic system where the character needs what is called an anima. This comes from having either items that you like have on hand that give you the elements needed to cast a spell, or your battle taking place in an environment that would allow you to cast said spell. And you can also learn those spells as well, and with the exception of one lead character in this game, because there I think are 3, one of them cannot learn spells at all. There is also a dueling system in this, which allows you to set up a 1v1 with one of your party members against the enemies on the screen. The most I can truly give about this game, aside from whatever info I have given, is that this game is beautiful in its art style, and I do think the soundtrack is amazing. Now, I know that I've called the SaGa series the redheaded stepchild of Square Enix, but this series also has a redheaded stepchild. And in 2002, we ended up getting Unlimited SaGa. It came out in Japan and in the US. And let's just say the US didn't seem too fond of this game. Japan liked it, but we didn't. But that might have been more of a time where, you know, JRPGs kind of didn't have the footing that they do now. You know, if you know, you know, you were there for all of that. But aside from that, it does have an interesting art style, and the gameplay was extremely different from what anything was of the previous SaGa games. It's extremely different. It was much more like a game board for Dungeons and Dragons, and also had a real system for battle, which was even more confusing to me. I do have this game on PS2, and I tried it out a little bit. I think I need to really sit more with this game. I didn't really play it too long, you know. I need to try it more. I don't know what to really say in the face of this game, but I think I want to play it more, and I may make another video about it just on its own, just to talk about Unlimited SaGa. I think I need to. Now, to make this one quick, we also have Romancing SaGa Minstrel Song, which is basically a remake of the original Romancing SaGa 1. And this was basically the United States' first taste of the Romancing SaGa trilogy, since the Game Boy games came over here under the Final Fantasy name to actually get it to sell. Because I guess we didn't want to confuse us crazy gaijins over here in the States with bringing over something called SaGa. It may not have sold if it didn't have the Final Fantasy name attached to it. But aside from that, we're back to our original 8 characters from RS1 in a brand new art style and in 3D. The environments are more fleshed out, and things that didn't make it in back on the Super Nintendo or the Super Famicom, they found their way here. And the battle system got revamped to play more like the Frontier system. You have the glimmers, you have the magic, you also have skill combos with your teammates in this game. And you can recruit new characters and so on just to go for it. And there's also a remaster of this remake, try saying that 5 times fast, on current systems that does have extra content put into place for you if that's your thing. This game is very hefty if you're looking for a challenge and a game to play numerous times. Now we are finally at the forefront of it all, where we currently are with our current era of video games, but we're gonna stop right off in 2016 with SaGa Scarlet Grace and Ambitions. These games were definitely more on the side of budget titles, and when I say they were what they were given, they did what they could to get a game out. At this point in time, it seemed like the series really was just waning away, but Kawazu and the team just wouldn't lay down. They had it in them to make a new game. It's the first original title since Unlimited in 2002, coming 14 years later, with Ambitions coming 2 years after the fact. So 2016 and 2018. So with this time here, we have another central story and a means of choosing a protagonist to start as. There's 4 at the start. I also remember when I started playing this game that the game asks you a couple questions, kind of like a questionnaire to see what character you should start with, which I thought was interesting. The game is also very non-linear, just like the rest of the series. The battle system itself is a little different in comparison to its predecessors. This time, every turn in battle is determined by battle points, which are these stars that appear on the bottom of the screen. And your character's actions cost those stars, plus there's a timeline that shows how the turns will play out once all actions are selected. If you use up all the stars, whoever didn't get an action in sits that turn out. If you have characters that are next to each other on the timeline, they can do united attacks, which are very similar to how combos work in the Frontier games, just is based around this battle system here. And your weapons affect how each party member attacks. They also play a role in how effective they are against certain enemies as well. And in usual SaGa fashion, you gain stats after fights depending on the things you did in the battle, and your skills and techniques can become stronger as well if you use them enough throughout battles all across your playthrough. Weapons even have skills attached to them and can be unlocked and leveled up. And there's even an upgrade system for weapons, armors, through the blacksmiths you find in town. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of other RPGs, but it does have the heart and the soul. Now, to start talking about where we are right now, we can talk about SaGa Emerald Beyond. This was the next logical step in the SaGa series and is very similar to Scarlet Grace. The man himself, Akitoshi Kawazu, wanted to keep this minimalist approach and expand on the story, plus trying to enhance the gameplay a bit more, and I think it pays off. Mind you, I only played the demo for this. I do have the game bought. I just haven't made it my business to install and fully get into it, and I think it gives a really good glimpse into what you can find in this game. I do have a demo review of it up if you want to check that out. I'll probably post it somewhere on the screen, but I'll say what I need to here. I think the gameplay is in a very good place. The soundtrack is awesome. Shout out to Kenji Ito. The battle system is very much like Scarlet Grace, and it has some of the old SaGa DNA in place, with us being able to have monsters on our teams, and they can learn the enemy skills at the fights, the traversing of the game's world through this expanse that leads to numerous different spots to see new enemies, new environments, pick up the story, and so on. Just make me really enjoy it a ton. Each character you play as also has something different, and they have something special about them, which can play into battle or even into dialogue choices. It makes for a really interesting playthrough if you find yourself picking this game up. So here's the section of the video that I really want to get to you, and where could you really start in this series as someone who has never played a single SaGa game? Well, I'm gonna automatically knock out the Super Famicom versions of the game. Well, for one, they all came out in Japan, but if you're smart and you're savvy and you have a computer, you know what we got going on. Some beautiful people did make it their business to go about translating those things. But we're gonna start from the top. RS1 is sort of an unfinished mess in a way. I'll say the game was about maybe 90 to 95% done. That last 5% came in touch with some content and some small stuff that needed touch-up. RS2, Romancing SaGa 2, has a remake out right now, which is beat for beat almost the same game. It's just in 3D with voice acting, and probably does do some bits of expansion. It looks amazing, plays well. I think you will find yourself there. And Romancing SaGa 3, your best bet would be to go play the remaster that's currently on most modern platforms. And that's for that. And with the Frontier games, both of them have been remastered on current platforms right now. So you won't have to go digging for copies of them on the PlayStation 1. You can play them on your PS4, PS5, PC, Switch, Steam, and everything under the sun. They got great quality of life improvements to them, so you can hop right in and start playing. I do not suggest that you play Unlimited SaGa unless you are willing to sit with it, as it is pretty experimental for the time. And if you're willing to, you may find yourself liking it. Minstrel Song, the remake of RS1, is now present on current platforms with bonus content added. So practically all of the SaGa games are practically in front of you on most things. Scarlet Grace and Emerald Beyond, they're the latest in the line of SaGa games, aside from the RS2 remake. They're fun and a blast is to be had with these games because the gameplay that they have is so fun to them. The battle system is amazing. Now, if you want to get yourself familiar with SaGa as it is currently, and you want to kind of start somewhere in the backside of this, I think the best starting place would be Romancing SaGa Minstrel Song Remaster, or playing Romancing SaGa 2 Revenge of the Seven. It has a lot of what the past has, but you also get the definitive version of Romancing SaGa 1 if you play that remaster of Minstrel Song. If you go for RS2 Remake, it is pretty current at about $50, but the RS1 Remake is pretty affordable at $25, and the SaGa series goes on sale very often when there's a lot of major sales out, because a large part of the series is like always on sale. Square and the SaGa team will definitely tell you whenever that series goes on sale, so be on the lookout for it. Come hop in, but if you find yourself wanting to be more like me, someone who's hard-headed enough to go to the beginning, your best bet is to look for the collection of SaGa, or you can start at Romancing SaGa 2 Famicom Remaster, which is on almost all platforms and even on your phones if I'm not mistaken. These are usually pretty cheap. As of now, the collection of SaGa is $10, which is 3 Game Boy games for you to see what it's like. And there's the Romancing SaGa 2 Remaster. It's 70% off at about $7.50. And I think RS2 is the best of the trilogy coming from me. I enjoyed that game a ton when I played it. Like, once you really get into a rhythm with it, it becomes like one of the best things you can really play. The SaGa series has really become one of my favorite things, like one of my favorite RPG series. I know that it's not one that has a huge following behind it, and I'll admit that I did avoid the series for a little bit because I was a little iffy on the difficulty of it all, and then I had that failed run when I started playing the original one with Gray. Yeah, I was a bit, yeah, I got kind of toasted on that one, but once I kind of got to playing it and I played a different character and I started making sense of what was going on, I was like, okay, this game makes a lot more sense now. I get it. It's wild. It's out there. It's a little experimental. Artwork has always been beautiful. Music has always been great for this series. And it's a series I think deserves a lot more love and it deserves its flowers right now. I know that they just had basically a remake of one of their biggest games come out. Plus they ended up having another original title come out behind it. But I want to see it get more love. So anyway, this was kind of like a slight little guide, a slight little synopsis to tell you about these games, or just it means to try to sell you on the series. If it worked, let me know in the comments. Talk to me. I have a love for a lot of the other big series like Persona, Final Fantasy, and so on. But this being just that bit different helped me lean more into SaGa as an RPG lover. I really love RPGs from like the bottom of my heart, but SaGa's like one of my favorite ones right now. I hope you like this video. I still got some reviews coming up. It's just my priorities have been they've been all over the place. They just been bad. Other than that, once I get all that straightened out, I know the year is like coming to an end. We're in October and we're looking to be heading towards November before I even fucking blink. Oh my god, I gotta get something out. But other than that, hit that like button for me. I want you to punch that bitch, kick it, do what you have to do. Leave me a comment, glimmer something, think of something that you want to tell me. And I'll see you around. It's been your boy Billy. Hit them backlogs up, play some good video games, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.